If you've been hearing all the benefits of healthy fertile mucus production for conception, but you're not seeing a whole lot of it yourself, this video is for you. We're gonna get into the taboo topic of cervical fluid and talk about how to increase production naturally. Let's go. Hey, I'm Whitney, registered dietitian and fertility coach, and I help busy women get out of the Google spiral so they can get pregnant. I've helped hundreds of women figure out their fertility so they can grow the family of their dreams. And in today's video, I'm sharing 4 tips to get your fertile fluid flowing, say that 5 times fast, so that you can increase your chances of pregnancy this year. And as always, this video is not meant to be a replacement for medical advice, so seek your provider's recommendation before making any changes. First, let's take a sec to talk about what fertile mucus is and why it's important. So fertile mucus cervical fluid in general is very, very normal. But as you note, if you notice, in the 2 to 3 days prior to ovulation, you might notice your mucus change from a lotion kind of consistency to more of a clear and gel-like consistency. Some people compare it to raw egg whites, and it can be very stretchy. That is ovulation and conception perfection. It is like a slip and slide for sperm to get straight to the egg. You can still get pregnant without seeing much of it, but it is a lot harder. And so it's a topic that I bring up all the time, because if I'm trying to help clients increase their chances of pregnancy, fertile mucus is gonna help us do that. If you're trying to figure out what to look for, it's like raw egg white consistency and clear in color. This is very crucial. It's the perfect pH to keep sperm alive. It helps keep sperm alive for 5 days, for up to 5 days. It creates very specific kinds of, I'm gonna get real nerdy here, very specific kinds of cellular channels for the sperm to travel through, so it kind of weeds out some of the misshapen sperm, so it can promote high quality sperm reaching the egg. And so there are a lot of different reasons why we need this. Conventional fertility doesn't pay a whole lot of attention to fertile mucus, but in the holistic or functional fertility world, we pay a lot of attention to it because of the important role it plays. If we're looking to boost fertility naturally, this is a fantastic place to start. Tip number 1 to increase your fertile mucus production is to drink water. Mucus is made up of primarily water, so if you're dehydrated, your mucus production is going to be impacted. Now, the amount of hydration you actually need each day is going to vary depending on where you live, how active you are, what season it is, where you're at in your cycle. So a simple rule of thumb is try to drink enough water so that your urine is clear to light yellow. If you have dark yellow, very strong smelling urine, there's a good chance that's a sign of dehydration, and it's time to boost your water intake. And bonus points if you drink filtered water versus tap water, just to add another level of safety and make sure that we're taking out some harmful chemicals if there are any. Tip number 2, I'm a broken record about, but you gotta make sure you are sleeping. Adequate sleep is important for all hormone production, and if your hormone production is amped up, it's going to impact your fertile mucus production, because let's do a little lesson here. What causes fertile mucus production is an estrogen rise right before ovulation. That rise is critical for that fertile mucus production, and the fertile mucus production is critical for conception. It helps the sperm meet the egg. It's kind of like a slip and slide for the sperm straight to the egg. So we need it for conception. If we want more of it, we gotta go to bed. This is exactly the conversation I had with my client, Jennifer. She was a high-powered lawyer when we started working together, and when I tell you her sleep cycles were off, like sometimes it was 2 a.m., sometimes it was 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. Very rarely was she going to bed at a p.m. hour. And so her sleep cycles were all a mess, her ovulation was a mess, but really what we were honed in on was her fertile mucus production, because there was none. So getting her in a good before bed pattern is critical, and that's what we worked on. I joke that adults are just big children. We love and thrive on a routine. And so making sure that you're kind of heading to bed at about the same time every night. You have a good bedtime routine. Your sleep hygiene is good. So you got I'm not just talking about like actual hygiene, but making sure you're sleeping in a dark room, that it's cool at night and you're not sweating all the time. Making sure that you don't have anything disruptive, any disruptive noises. And I know this is all like very challenging, especially if you live in a city or with a partner who doesn't go to bed at the same time you do, but as much as possible, We want a really consistent sleep routine. We want to try and get at least 7 hours of sleep per night, if possible, even more. I love it when it's closer to 8 or 9. I know that that is pushing it for a lot of us, and it's pushing it for myself too. I struggle to practice what I preach in this scenario as well, but I've seen firsthand the impact of high quality sleep on hormone production. And in the case of my client Jennifer, we saw her fertile mucus production pick up almost immediately within 2 months of implementing her new bedtime routine, which meant she was going to bed around 10 p.m., which was a big struggle for her given her previous sleep habits. But she did stick to it, and we saw her fertile mucus production pick up quite quick, and 2 months later she ended up getting her BFP on vacation, actually. I'd love to know in the comments, what are your sleep habits like? Are you a solid sleeper and you're like, yeah, 7, sorry I hit my mic, 7, 8 hours a night, you're no problem sleeping that much? Or are you, I have a hard time sticking to a sleep routine? Comment below, because I know you are not the only one if you're having a tough time. I struggle too. I am not a heavy sleeper. I wake up at any little noise. And so I'm right there with you. Tip number 3, maybe vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 studies have shown that it can help improve fertile mucus production. Now, I want to say, when they did those studies, they were looking at a 500 milligram slow release dose, and the upper tolerable limit in the United States right now is 100 milligrams. So if you're going to go above 100 milligrams, I suggest working with a provider like myself who can help work with you to determine if that is the right way to go for you. And tip number 3, I have said it before, I'm gonna say it a million times, watch that chronic stress. Set those healthy boundaries. Make sure you're going to bed. Make sure you're saying no to toxic people. Make sure you're bringing more joy, pleasure, and rest into your life. Chronic stress is a killer for all hormone production. But remember when I said estrogen production is important for fertile mucus? If your estrogen production is hindered, it's gonna impact your mucus production. So you could be sleeping you could be drinking all the water and taking all the vitamin B6, but if your stress is through the roof and you're only sleeping 3 hours a night, it's not gonna matter. So we gotta make sure that we're watching those stress levels and making that a priority while you're trying to conceive. I swear, it sounds ridiculous, but it really can make an impact on your fertile mucus production. I hope the tips we talked about today give you a little bit more guidance and information about fertile mucus and how to increase production naturally. If you wanna dig even deeper, check out the Find Your Fertile Path quiz below, where I'm gonna give you a fertile quick start plan so you can focus on the fun of baby making instead of just the science. That's all for today. If you're a fellow food and fertility nerd, hit that subscribe button and you can get all my fertility secrets each week. I'll see you in the next video.